It's not every day that a possible F1 seat shuffle causes this much buzz, especially before the Canadian Grand Prix. But here we are, and the motorsport world is stirring with one big question. Could Valtteri Bottas actually step in for Lance Stroll at Aston Martin? It sounds wild, but there's more truth to it than most would expect. As of now, nothing has been officially confirmed. Stroll's participation in his home race is still uncertain. The team hasn't made any final announcements, but behind the scenes, people are already looking at backup plans. The Finn, known for his calm demeanor and consistent performances, is being seen as a real option. With over 200 races and 10 wins to his name, Bottas isn't someone you'd overlook when you're searching for reliability under pressure. The question then shifts to Mercedes. Would they be okay letting Bottas step into Aston Martin's car, especially when the spotlight will be so bright in Canada? And if that happens, what could it mean for Cadillac's long-term strategy, especially looking ahead to 2026? Things get even more interesting when you remember that Stroll's record has been shaky recently. He's had moments that raised eyebrows, but none were quite as disastrous as his crash in Barcelona during the 2025 season, an incident many fans and experts consider one of the worst in his career. Following the crash, he underwent surgery for an old wrist injury, one he originally picked up back in 2023, but the timing of the operation raised questions. Was it just coincidence? Or was the team quietly making plans behind the scenes after his latest poor showing? Mike Crack, the trackside boss at Aston Martin, addressed Stroll's current condition in a recent interview. His words were cautious, but revealing. According to him, Stroll's recovery is still a work in progress, and several medical evaluations are scheduled in the coming days. No one can say for sure if he'll be ready in time for the race. So, what happens if Stroll can't compete? Aston Martin isn't short on options, but choosing the right replacement is critical. They have 2 reserve drivers on standby, but the sudden availability of Bottas has changed the equation completely. For a team that's currently struggling in the constructors' standings, adding a seasoned racer, one who's been through title fights and pressure weekends, might be the safer bet. Let's not forget Bottas's prime years at Mercedes. From 2017 to 2021, he never missed Q2 or Q3 and consistently brought in points. While his time with Alfa Romeo didn't quite match those highs, most insiders believe that wasn't a reflection of his skill, but rather the machinery he was working with. Bottas still has plenty to offer, and teams know that well, which is why his name keeps popping up in conversations about the future, especially with Cadillac entering the grid in 2026. If Bottas gets this one-off opportunity in Canada, it won't just be a temporary gig. It could be his golden ticket to staying relevant in Formula One. And according to him, he's far from finished. In a recent statement, Bottas made it clear that being without a seat this season wasn't his decision. He believes he still has the hunger, the speed, and the experience to make a strong comeback. He spoke honestly about how watching races from the sidelines has reignited his desire to compete. The more time he spends off the track, the more he misses the adrenaline, the competition, and the structure that comes with being a full-time driver. He's not chasing nostalgia. He's chasing a second wind in his racing career. Now the pressure falls on Aston Martin. Do they stick with their current backups, or do they roll the dice on a proven name who might bring immediate results? One of the key challengers for that seat is Felipe Drugovich, Aston Martin's reserve driver and a former Formula 2 champion. Although he hasn't been linked to a race seat until now, he's steadily built his reputation within the team. Drugovich is gaining experience not just in F1, but also in endurance racing, including the demanding 24 hours of Le Mans, which happens to coincide with the Canadian GP. His focus remains firmly on Formula One, and if an opportunity opens up, he'll be ready to step in. Another driver worth mentioning is Stoffel van Dorn. The Belgian has been with Aston Martin for some time as a reserve and has previous F1 race experience. Given the current uncertainty, Van Dorn could be a reliable choice to fill in for Stroll if needed. His familiarity with the car and team dynamics would certainly be an advantage, especially in a high-pressure situation like a home Grand Prix. However, the bigger picture isn't just about filling a seat for one race. Aston Martin's current performance has been underwhelming. Before Barcelona, Lance Stroll was the only one scoring points for the team. But Fernando Alonso's recent ninth-place finish means both drivers are now contributing. Still, with the team focusing heavily on the 2026 season's new regulations, every race and every bit of data matters for the development of the car. That's why a race run by Bottas could offer valuable insights. His years of experience and technical feedback could help the engineers in Silverstone make meaningful progress. For Bottas himself, it would be a chance to remind the paddock that he's still capable of competing at a high level, potentially securing a spot for the future Cadillac project. Looking ahead, Cadillac's entry into Formula One in 2026 has everyone watching closely. They're building a new team and searching for drivers who can deliver results right from the start. Bottas knows this well. He's keeping his hopes alive for a seat with Cadillac when they join the grid. Experience counts in such a scenario, and he's aware that youth alone won't guarantee a spot. At the moment, Bottas is competing with some strong candidates like Mick Schumacher and Sergio Perez, while other names are also being considered. It's a complicated process and nothing will be decided quickly. Interestingly, Colton Herta, who was once seen as a rising star, is no longer in the running, which may open doors for others. Bottas recently shared his thoughts about Cadillac's plans. He doesn't expect any immediate announcements. According to him, the company is focused on getting their car ready for next season, and driver decisions will likely come closer to August. That gives Bottas time to prepare, but also adds pressure to stay ready for any chance that comes his way. Meanwhile, Aston Martin faces a tricky dilemma. Without a confirmed reserve driver they can rely on from the start, they may have to bring in an outsider if Stroll can't race. Considering Stroll's history of racing through pain, it's hard to predict if he'll sit out the Canadian GP, but ongoing wrist issues could force him to take a break, adding uncertainty to the team's lineup. If the replacement driver steps in and performs well right away, it could shake up Aston Martin's driver lineup significantly. The team is in a tough spot in the Constructors' Championship, and a strong showing from the second driver could put both seats under pressure. Fernando Alonso, a two-time world champion, has a secure position, especially since he is expected to stay with the team as an ambassador after retirement. On the other hand, Lance Stroll's spot feels less certain, despite being the owner's son. It's a delicate situation for Aston Martin. Removing Stroll from the race seat would be a big decision, one that would likely cause controversy. But if a replacement like Bottas comes in and shows that he still has what it takes, the team might have to consider making a change sooner rather than later. For Bottas, this chance would be more than just filling in temporarily. It would be a chance to prove that his passion and skill haven't faded. Whether or not he gets to race in Canada with Aston Martin remains to be seen, but the opportunity alone could reignite his Formula One career. Despite the challenges, if Bottas performs, well, he could surprise many who think his best days are behind him. The coming weeks will be crucial, and only time will reveal how this story unfolds. So, considering all this, the big question remains: should Aston Martin bring Bottas in if Stroll can't race? On paper, Bottas offers experience and a proven track record, which could be vital for a team fighting to improve their results. Meanwhile, Drugovich and Van Dorn are promising drivers with strong potential, but they lack the same level of Formula One race experience that Bottas brings. Choosing between experience and potential is never easy. Teams often have to balance short-term gains with long-term growth. Aston Martin will need to decide what matters most for their current situation. Are they looking to secure some solid points and stability immediately, or do they want to invest in developing their future stars? It's also important to remember that racing isn't just about skill on the track. Team chemistry, understanding the car, and being able to give useful feedback to engineers all play a major role. That's why the decision isn't as simple as just picking the most famous name. Whatever the outcome, the next few weeks will be critical for Aston Martin. They'll have to keep a close eye on Stroll's recovery while weighing their options carefully. For Bottas, this could be a defining moment, the chance to show that he still belongs in Formula One and that he can contribute to a team aiming to get back to the front. Looking beyond the immediate situation, the wider implications for Formula One are interesting. Bottas's potential return could inspire other experienced drivers who've been out of the spotlight to consider making a comeback. The sport is constantly evolving, and teams value drivers who combine skill with experience, especially in periods of technical change. Aston Martin's current struggle highlights how crucial it is to have the right driver lineup. As the sport prepares for new regulations in 2026, every piece of data and feedback will be crucial for development. A driver like Bottas, with his history of technical understanding, could provide that edge, even in a limited role. Meanwhile, the pressure on Stroll remains. His performance has been inconsistent, and the recent crash in Barcelona was a tough setback. Whether he's ready to push through pain again in Canada will depend on his recovery. But the possibility that Aston Martin might have to make a tough call reflects the competitive nature of F1. Results matter, and sometimes difficult decisions have to be made for the team's future. The story around Bottas, Stroll, and Aston Martin is far from over. As the Canadian Grand Prix approaches, all eyes will be on the team's final decision. It's a high-stakes moment, with implications that reach far beyond one race. In the end, this situation shows just how unpredictable and demanding Formula One can be. Teams are always balancing between performance, driver health, and long-term strategy. Aston Martin's potential move to bring Bottas in highlights the reality that every decision matters when the competition is fierce. Whether Bottas will get the green light to race in Canada or if Stroll will overcome his challenges remains uncertain. But one thing is clear: the team must act wisely to protect their future in this highly competitive sport. For Bottas, the chance to race again would be a powerful statement, a reminder that experience still counts and that determination can open doors even after setbacks. As the season progresses, fans and experts alike will be watching closely to see how Aston Martin navigates this critical phase. And as for the drivers involved, their careers hang in the balance, influenced by choices made, both on and off the track. So, what do you think? Should Bottas get this chance to prove himself once more? Or should Aston Martin trust their younger talents to step up? Whatever happens, one thing is certain: the world of Formula One is always full of surprises.